Hello, this is Mitchell Jones. I am recording this podcast by myself, all by myself. I'm doing a solo. That's it. I'm doing a solo podcast. Starting off 2023 with a solo podcast. Um, I don't know what to expect. I've never done a solo podcast. I'm just kind of doing this off the dome. Just I don't know what to expect. Okay, bear with me. If you want to know more about me, listen to this podcast. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't know what's going to come off my mind. I'm just going to talk, and whatever comes out of my mouth, comes out of my mouth. That's it. I have no idea. I've never done something like this, and it's really weird for me to talk to a camera. So bear with me. Try not to judge me too hard. I've never done this before. I'm a little nervous. But that is okay. So this episode is a solo episode, like I said. This is the first episode of the 2023 year. So I uploaded an episode with Daniel McQuinn, episode 22, I believe. That was posted on January 2nd, but recorded in 2022. So this episode is the first episode to be recorded in 2023. And I just wanted to do a solo podcast to start off the new year. And we'll soon have guests on the next episode. But we're starting 2023 off with just myself. If you want to learn a little more about me, which I imagine I might get into, or you might just learn how I think or what I am doing, or I have no idea. Who knows what I'm going to talk about? I don't know anything that I'm going to talk about. I could talk about this Xbox controller. I don't even have an Xbox, but the controller's on the table. You can play on your Mac. That's a fun fact. But let's get into it. I just want to shout out Piccadilly Coffee. They supplied me with an item that I will use for the rest of my life. I will use a Piccadilly Coffee mug for the rest of my life. This is a titanium metal mug. There's no reason for me to ever use a glass cup again. I use this for my supper table cup. I use this for my coffee and hot chocolate and apple cider. I use this for juice. I use this for water like 6 times a day. I use this for camping. I use this for traveling. It's pretty good condition right now, but if it gets dents and cracks and brokenness in it, all the better. Because the more beauty marks it gets, the better. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, so bear with me. If you want to listen to me, then keep listening. And if you don't, then just turn off the podcast and wait for the next episode if there's something interesting you want to hear about. Yeah, so this year was great. I had a lot of fun this year. Last year. 2022 was a good year. But this year, I have a good feeling about this year. I don't know why. I just feel like something big is going to happen. Some big changes. I don't know. I have no idea. God's plans are doing its thing. I just step out of the way and just followed the path, I guess. This year, I started off with a snowboard trip. I went snowboarding with one of my best friends, and that was an unbelievable time. My favorite way to spend my time is to go to snowboarding, no matter what the hill is. Just the feeling of riding on a board, going down the hill, mindlessly thinking, listening to music. I'm just in heaven. Well, I'm on earth, but it feels pretty bliss to me. So anyways, I might do another episode someday of just like questions. I thought that'd be kind of cool. Just maybe make a poll if people are interested in maybe me doing a podcast with just questions, and anybody can ask me any question that they want. I think that'd be fun. I won't give out names. It'll be anonymous. So just like, next question, boom, answer it to the best of my ability, whatever the question may be. I think that'd be kind of cool. But if you're listening to this, maybe message me. And if you see the poll someday, reply to the poll. Or when I ask like any questions, just send in questions. Moving on. All right. I don't know what I'm going to get into this podcast. It's going to be an hour podcast, half an hour. I don't know how long I'm going to talk for. It's really weird for me to speak in front of this camera to you guys. But let's get into it. So I'm just going to start off with New Year's resolutions. I hope some of you guys made New Year's resolutions, but if you're going to stick with New Year's resolutions, stick with it, please. Please stick with it. That's all I ask. I ask that everybody that's made a New Year's resolution or think that they're going to make a good change in their life, that they do it. I also think that if you're going to make a change, don't let the year be the reason that you're making the change. Make the change because you need to make the change. And whether that's, I want to become a better coffee connoisseur or a better video game player, I say you strive to be the best at that as possible. Now, I prefer something beneficial that will further your life into something better. Video games can be making a glue company like this. Maybe you want to become the greatest glue company in the world. I have no idea. I'm not sure. I think that everybody needs to make a change. I think a resolution every human should stick with is to be of service to others, no matter who you are. I think if you're interested in homes, to reach out to somebody, and hopefully that person knows tons of like the whole business of buying and selling homes and real estate or anything like that, that's willing to be of service and to really be a helping hand, whether it's for the business or the money or anything. Put that aside. Like, I hope you're of service for a human to another human, loving to another loving human. And whatever you identify as, like, I don't care, like, support each other, be there for each other. I think we need more love and we need more service in this world. Just to be there, be selfless, and just, if somebody messages you for something, that you do that. I don't know. A beautiful thing I heard, and I love it. I watched this short film. It's only 32 minutes long, and you guys should check it out. It's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And the boy asks the horse, "What's the bravest thing you've ever said?" And the horse says, "Help." The horse says, "It's the first sign of refusing to give up." And I thought that was so true, because I was like, so many people like refuse to ask people for help in any situation ever. Do you know what I mean? Like, people refuse to even ask help as simply as, oh, how do I wire up something in the house? Or how do I clean a gun? How do I learn about cameras? Or, you know what I mean? And Google's out there, but there's nothing better than like asking somebody for an act of service to help you out. Like, I got somebody that I can reach out now and ask them for a question on a certain subject that I probably need, and they'd be willing to help, and they'd be so glad that I asked them. I know somebody that I don't really know how to build a deck properly, you know. I don't know. That's just an example. I'm just saying random things, so bear with me. But I do know somebody that could help me tremendously with how to build a deck. How to go about it, what I need to think about, what things that I wouldn't even realize, things that they've ran into. You know what I mean? I think being service of others is a great way to start off this year. I watched this video, and it's such a weird thing that I pulled from the video, but they were doing in like 1930s, 1940s or something. They were doing like maybe 1920, around that area. They were doing crash tests with cars, and the crazy thing is that like a real human would run into a wall with a car and test the crashing ability. And I imagine some people died doing that, but they really took their ability. But there were so many people around, so many people, and like that was a beautiful event, and everybody was there, and like they were just crashing this car into this wall doing a test, but everybody was there. And I think everybody was there as a helping hand in that certain thing. But as phones and technology and as things are invading into our life, we're like not there for as many things anymore, you know? Like you need help taking a tree down. Like I feel like you could have had a whole community behind your back, but we like lack the awareness that we can ask people to go do those things. I think we lack that human connection. And I know that maybe just from my own perspective, maybe that's completely gone, but I feel like if you just ask for help for certain things, people are willing to help and want to help. I've had tons of people ask me about how to go about a podcast and how to go about video, and I don't know that much knowledge. I'm really not knowledgeable with a lot of this stuff. I know tons of people that are way more knowledgeable, but I've had people ask me, and I love sending them to people more knowledgeable, getting in contact with that, or helping them figure out what they need. And it's a great feeling to know that somebody like understands that, I don't know, that I know something that could help them. And I love the feeling of knowing that somebody else loves the feeling of me asking them for their opinion or their advice or their knowledge on a certain thing. I don't know. I think that's a great goal for everybody. It's just a New Year's resolution of being a service to others. Even if you're curious about something. Like there's a whole lot of crazy stuff going on, and I can't get right into it, but maybe you identify as a giraffe. You know? And maybe you are more curious on how that person's headspace works. I don't know. Just random stuff. Maybe you're curious on how to make pop. How do you go about making the beverage? How do you go about marketing a company? How do you go about creating a new game console? Make a brand new game console called Air. And Air becomes bigger than Xbox and PlayStation and Razer and whatever. Some of you guys might not know what I'm talking about, and some of you guys might. You know? Like, how does Piccadilly Coffee become bigger than Starbucks? That's just an example. Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you go about it? And there's millions of people that are willing to help, and there's also millions of people that don't want to help because, you know, they're a little greedy and they don't want you to be taking them out of business. But I don't know. I think being an active service is the way to go right now. But I think everybody should have some personal goals, you know, create something, do something. And not everybody is like that. I understand that. But I think everybody has a personal goal that they need to do. Do you need to become a better girlfriend? Do you need to become a better boyfriend? Do you need to be a better child to your parents? Do you need to become a better parent to your child? This is what I'd like to get at. Is if somebody said in 432 days, say your goal was to make $200,000, and somebody said if you did this every single day for 432 days, you would make $200,000. I think you would have no problem doing that for 432 days and knowing that in that 432 days, you have $200,000 in your bank. I know everybody would do it because they have that goal and they know that they're going to get it. Maybe your goal, hey, you want to be a better parent to your child? All right, I'm going to do my best to become a better parent to my child. And somebody comes up to you and says, hey, if you do this every single day for 432 days, you're guaranteed to have a strong, compassionate, loving, beautiful relationship with your kids as a parent. Do you know what I mean? And the crazy thing is if you did apply that, it might not happen in 432 days exactly, but I guarantee you that it will happen one of those days. It might happen on the 89th day. It might happen on the 2000th day. However, I can't really say that off my tongue right, but maybe it will happen that day. I can't guarantee you when it's going to happen, but I can guarantee you it's going to happen. That's the crazy part. And I think people need to understand that. I need you guys to wrap your head around this. If I want to create the best podcast in the world, if I want to be the best podcaster, if I want to be the greatest YouTuber, if I worked at it every single day and it only takes me 90 days to get there, great. If it takes me 1,500 days to get there, great. It's crazy that whatever you have as a goal, that it's guaranteed to happen if you were to do this every single day. I can't guarantee you what day it's going to happen, but I can guarantee you that it's going to happen. And that's pretty insane to think about. That's what I need you guys to understand. Because this is where I'm basing it off the New Year's resolution. It's like, you're going to make a change, and you make the change off to just the year. But most people don't stick to it because they're just doing it because it's like a tradition thing, you know? New Year's resolution, let me just make a resolution, let me stick with it for 2.5 days and repeat what I've been doing out of habit for the rest of the years. But I will tell you, if you stuck with it for 300 days, it might happen. I can guarantee you too that if you want to get insanely good at guitar, and I struggle with this as like personally, like it's tough. It is a tough challenge, but if you just stay relentless and you just know that there's no other option and you just pick one thing, and if you just pick one thing, it's so easy. If I'm going to try to become the best podcaster or YouTuber in the world, this is just an example, and I have to do this and 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 this every single day, and I do this and this every single day, it's guaranteed to happen. When is it guaranteed? I don't know. Is my this and this and this might change throughout time? Yes. Different thises will be different throughout time, which will maybe take me closer or farther away from my goal. But I can guarantee you that if you do this, and this, it's guaranteed to happen sometime. Does that make sense? Because I sure hope it does. Because if you want to outbeat Apple in phones, you want to make a slicker, simpler, better design, better company, start doing your steps every single day, and eventually it will happen. I mean, the bigger goal, the more days it's probably going to be. That's usually how it works. But it's like, all right, I'm going to make sure to drink 3 glasses of water a day. You make sure you drink 3 glasses of water a day to hopefully get to the point where you're only drinking water every day. I guarantee you eventually it's going to happen. You might be able to specifically pick out the certain day that you're like, boom, I don't need any other beverage, just water. It's just it's insane to me. If you want to grow a church to be the most impactful church as possible, maybe not in size, maybe not in wealth, but if you want to be the most impactful, I guarantee you it's going to happen if you work at this, and this. So what you got to do is you got to come up with the game plan, figure out the best plan you can do, and then you write that plan, and then you stick to that plan every single day, and it will literally happen, and it's insane. So there's no difference whether somebody came up to you and said, hey, you want this? You want your own business? Just do this, and this every single day, and you'll have your business in 2 years successfully on your own. And you're like, wow, if I just did that every single day for 2 years and I'm guaranteed that business, I'm going to go do that. You're going to tell your boyfriend, hey, I'm going to go do this. and it's guaranteed to happen. Perfect. In 2 years, you'll be doing your thing. There's no difference whether you're doing it for a business or whether you're trying to become the best artist. I don't know. It gets me so excited, but I also wish like people understood that whatever they do, and you can enjoy your thing, whatever that thing is. It's just the same as building a house, you know, like if you just work a little bit at your house, you start with one piece of wood. Eventually, if you just put one piece of wood down every single day, you're eventually going to have a house. You're guaranteed to have a house. Well, with just wood, you're guaranteed to have a frame of a house, but you know what I mean? I don't know. It's unbelievable to think that everything that you do is pretty much guaranteed. And I mean, most people might say it's not guaranteed, but if you're not willing to give up, then it is guaranteed. Now, life might come in the way and push you aside or bring something new in your head, and you realize that there's something better that you want to go towards, then even better. I don't know, guys. Stick with what you need to do and just do it, because I guarantee you whatever you choose, it's going to happen. I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but I guarantee you it's going to happen. And it's so... that just like is so exciting to me. I think you need to be so excited. But yeah, let's get back on the service of others. I think that's truly important. The service of others is truly important. I'll give you a small example. Two of my best friends, Jonathan Hugerworth and Nick Moeller, they both messaged me as soon as I got back from my trip there. They said, like, how was the big mountain? How was the riding? Like, that goes a long way, because it just shows like they actually were genuinely, there was a thought of like, oh yeah, Mitchell's doing a thing. I wonder how that thing's going. And in my mind, I feel like if they went skiing, I would forget about them going somewhere or asking them about it. And maybe I have, I don't know, I don't remember. But that small act of service is like so amazing and beyond thankful. And so if John and Nick are listening to my podcast, perfect. And to know that I'm forever thankful for the homies. They're two amazing individuals for me. That's just me being honest. But if they're not listening, then they'll never know that I said that about them. And that's okay too. More about me is I'm just a big dreamer, guys. I enjoy ideas, and I want to implement them and make them happen, and I can only do one thing at a time, but hopefully slowly one thing at a time turns into multiple things. I don't know. And if you can make one big thing happen, then maybe those multiple things will be easier in the long run. I'm just truly inspired by people that are really well at doing certain things, and then that's what they do. Like Robert Feltus, I had him on episode 20. His whole life's devoted around hunting. Like, yeah, he does other things, spend time with family, wife, enjoys other things, but his main thing is hunting. He devotes his thinking, his studying, his time to hunting. And to be able to spread that knowledge through his book to the outside world is a beautiful thing. Most people don't understand hunting, but if you read a book that somebody has devoted their whole life to, maybe you'd have a more appreciation for something like hunting, and not letting the world tell you, oh, like hunting's bad and hunting's this. Like maybe you'll still think that, but at least you read someone that's literally devoted their life to something. And you could take that with anything. Oh, coffee's bad for your health. Well, maybe you don't know that. Right? I don't know. I don't know many things about that, but things are crazy, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Things are crazy. Do your thing. Yeah, and work very hard at the things. That's all I'm going to say. Work very hard. Just work very hard at the things that you want to do and keep doing it, and hopefully you can be a good service to others in the future. yeah, it's a beautiful thing to think that anything you put your mind to, you can do. I'm just being super raw. I don't know if I'm being boring. I just hope that you guys are putting some thought into maybe being able to do something. I just, yeah. If you can be a service to others, I might have repeated myself for the past half an hour on the same subject, just saying it a different way. I just hope that you guys can reach out to anybody ever and be of service to them. Maybe me as Mitchell Jones wants to learn more about makeup, and I know somebody that knows their makeup. And maybe I'm just curious on what goes into it, why they're into it. I don't know. And they'd probably be so thankful that I asked them about it because they're right into it and passionate about it. And they're like, no way. Like, I would have never expected somebody to ask me all these questions about something that I love so much, but I never get to talk about it. Something crazy. If you're not a Christian or you're not biblical or spiritual or anything like that, I do ask you to keep listening. I'm not going to speak too much on it, and I don't want you to get queasy. I don't want you to get weird. But a cool moment in my life happened. I'm not going to explain what on, but I believe that I'm a big believer in prayer. I love praying. The crazy thing is like I'll ask for certain things, and sometimes he blesses me with beautiful things that I could never imagine would happen. And then you take advantage and you almost put your eyes on something else. And maybe it's the same thing you asked for. And I don't want to get too specific. But I don't know how to have an example. Say you asked for this snowboard. This is just a random example. Say you asked for a snowboard, and it's the greatest snowboard of all time. You love that snowboard. And that snowboard has never let you down. It's always there. It's always able to ride. You're always able to use that, and it's perfect. But then you see another snowboard in the distance. And it's like, whoa, that's a nice snowboard. And then you look at it and you look like, oh, that'd be like a really fun snowboard to try out. But you realize that snowboard doesn't have certain things on it that you like. You're like, well, it'd be fun to try. It'd be fun to try that snowboard. But you know that snowboard is the perfect snowboard for you. Because that one was sent by God. That's what I'm getting at. But that one looks like it's good. But that one wasn't given to you. That snowboard over there was for somebody else. And that's perfect for them. Do you know what I mean? So maybe I ask God for the greatest podcast in the world. Maybe I'm like, God, like give me I want to have the greatest podcast in the world. This is just an example. I don't think I ever have prayed for the greatest podcast in the world. But say I ask for the best podcast in the world. And maybe I have a great podcast. I don't know. And maybe this podcast is perfect for me. This is the perfect podcast I could have. But I look at somebody else's podcast and I go, if I had their podcast, if I had theirs, like their podcast looks perfect. It's got like this and that. But what if you were to get onto that podcast and realize, oh, I just realized why God gave me this podcast. Because this is perfect for me. And maybe you don't believe in God. Maybe it's, I don't even know how to bring this to an example. When God blesses you with something very specifically, and then you see something that's also the same thing, but it looks better and shinier, but then you forget that God blessed you with this thing. I saw it as like, take this blessing And I basically was so thankful, like, yes, thank you, Lord, for this. This is amazing. But then maybe a week later, you go, well, maybe I'd like that more. And then God goes, but I just gave you like the perfect gift for your life, this thing. And you're just going to betray it? Like, that's something I went through the other day. And I don't know. I don't know how to make an example of this. So basically what I'm getting at is God blessed me with something. And then I saw something shinier. And I go, maybe I want that. Maybe I want the blessing. Maybe the blessing that God gave me, maybe isn't as great as this thing that I want. But then if I was to jump onto that blessing and look at that, I would forget why this blessing was so perfect. But sometimes you only realize that after you already made the jump to a different blessing. Like, I don't even know how to explain that. Because it doesn't have to be biblical either. It's because sometimes things can look shinier on the outside over there, but really what that thing is a lot worse than what you have. And people make that mistake all the time. I mean, you could take this Red Bull can for an example on my desk right now. Maybe I have this Red Bull can and it's going to provide me the liquid that I need for the rest of my life. But then I see a bigger Red Bull can over there. And it looks fresh and cool and shiny and a lot more appealing. But what you need in your life is just this, and it might not be little, it's just, you're just comparing that to something else. And that Red Bull can is perfect for you, and it's exactly what you need for your rest of your life. But then you look at that other Red Bull can, it's bigger, it's got more in it. But if you jump to that Red Bull can, that might be too much for you to handle. That might be too much for what you're not made to use. Somebody else isn't made to use that. Does that make sense? I don't even know if I'm making any sense, but that's okay. You're learning more about Mitchell Jones. A little bit of inspirational podcast for you guys today. Don't even know if I'm going to upload this. Because you got to think, like, if you're in my shoes, it's kind of weird to be on this podcast just speaking my thoughts or speaking my mind to a camera and a mic. Let's switch it up. What am I going to do this year? I'd like to figure out the Rubik's Cube. Try to learn how to do that. I want to play guitar every day. I want to figure that out. I want to become more educated in the game of chess. I want to be like more skilled and be more of a skilled chess player. That might take some time. I think that'd be really interesting. There are some fun things that maybe are fun to tinker with throughout the year. See how I can get better at each of those things. Faster at the Rubik's Cube. More fluent in guitar playing. More dexterity in my fingers, be able to play a few different songs. And then chess, I just want to be able to play the game better. I think that'd be really exciting to learn and figure out over time. Yeah. There's a cool speaker. His name's Louis Giglio. And if you haven't seen it, it's type in Louis Giglio Laminin, and it's a really cool message. He spoke about this molecule called laminin, and this molecule is basically what connects everything together. It's a protein that connects every other cell together. Like everything, that's the reason why everything is together. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, if it didn't have this molecule, nothing would hold itself. Like, everything would just be spread apart. Everything would just be like, psh. The reason my skin doesn't fall off my body. The reason why my lips stayed connected. I don't know. He talked about this thing called laminin, and the coolest fact, this is a little biblical, but laminin, the protein symbols, or the chemistry behind it, the shape of it is a perfect cross, like the way the chemicals are bind. There's like two chemicals on the side and one chemical on top, and then it's like a row of chemicals down the center, and it's the shape of a cross. And he basically explained that there's a verse in the Bible, and it says, like, all things are through God, or all things are made from God, or Jesus. And to think that, like, he died on a cross for, like, all things, and to think that all things are connected through a molecule called laminin that's the shape of a cross, I think that's a pretty neat story. And it might be coincidence what most people say, but my coincidence is that God created that molecule, and it happens to be the shape of a cross, which is a really cool thing. But check it out and go in with an open mind. And I know that probably 100% of you won't even check that out, but that's okay. I thought it was a really cool message, and he don't worry, he doesn't talk about God a crazy amount. It's just like, talks about the universe and some crazy stuff, and then he talks about this protein molecule and the story behind it all, and it's really interesting. And he does implement God a little bit, but not really. It's a story, like he spoke about it. It's really cool. But if you're not, spiritually there, or a Christian, or biblically knowledgeable or anything, there's a funny comedian called Pete Holmes, and he talks about molecules, and like, he's like on a planet in the universe of nothingness, and he's like, it doesn't make any effing sense. Check out the bit, type in Pete Holmes molecules, and I think that bit comes up. It's like 6 minutes or something. It's really funny. He just explains how, like, we're on a planet right now and none of it makes sense, and he's like, we act like it makes sense, but really it doesn't, because it doesn't make sense at all. And I thought it was really funny. It's a hilarious bit. You got to check it out. But Louis Giglio talked about how small the earth is and how small we are. Like Horton Hears a Who, like that movie, like, we're like, the Whoville is a little tiny speck on a little tiny flower, and in that little speck is a whole world. That's kind of what it made it feel like when Louis Giglio was talking about this. And he explained, like, if Earth was a golf ball, that the biggest star, if you were to take the biggest star and shrink it down to the size of Mount Everest, which Mount Everest is huge, I mean, it's the tallest point on the earth. If you were to shrink it down to Mount Everest, the biggest star in the world, and you were to put a golf ball right beside Mount Everest, that would be Earth. And Mount Everest would be way up there. The third biggest star, if you were to shrink it down to the size of the Empire State Building, sorry, I kind of butchered that. If you were to take the third biggest star and shrink it down to the size of 6 Empire State Buildings. So take the Empire State Building and stack 5 more Empire State Buildings on top of that. If you've ever been to New York, it's a huge building. Put 6 of those, and if that was the height of the third biggest star, and you were to put a golf ball on the sidewalk, that's the size of Earth compared to the third biggest star. And to think that you're just this tiny little nothingness on that little tiny rock is pretty insane. The second biggest star, if you ever go to San Francisco and you check out the Golden State Bridge, I think that's what it is. If you ever see that bridge, if you were to put a golf ball at the end of that bridge down by the water, to think that there's planets that are, you put that golf ball beside a rock, the rock's bigger. But if that Earth was the golf ball and you set that there, the second biggest star is 2 of those Golden State Bridges wide. So take that bridge, take another bridge, and if that's the second biggest star, put that golf ball down on the ground right beside the water and think of that golf ball as Earth and think of that star as 2 of those Golden State Bridges wide. So to think if a golf ball was beside Mount Everest as the biggest star that we've discovered, there's probably bigger stars. I think that's kind of insane. Like you'd have to, if you were to put the golf ball under the tons of meters down, I don't even know how many meters down, into the snow just to hit the bottom of Mount Everest. That tiny little golf ball represents Earth, and the big star, if you were to scale it down to Mount Everest, Earth is that little golf ball. Hundreds of feet down under the snow, probably, down to the bottom of the mountain. It's unbelievable. It makes you really perspective on the Earth and how little it is. And I think it was cool because he explained, like, something's got to create that. And I think that's true. Like, something had to create this Earth, let alone that giant star of whatever. But Pete Holmes, a comedian, like, he's just like, there's nothingness upon nothingness, and the nothingness expands into more nothingness. He's like, it doesn't make any effing sense. He's like, it doesn't make sense. He's like freaking out, and it's so funny. You guys need to check it out. And he's like, yeah, it's so funny. I don't know, guys. We've been talking for a little while. I don't know what I'm doing on this podcast. I'm just speaking. I'm going to have better episodes out soon, but if you enjoyed this episode of me just talking about randomness upon randomness, cool. I feel like I didn't really touch into really much about me. I just kind of talked on what I've viewed in the past day or two. If you want to ask me questions, maybe we'll do that. I really got to pee right now, so I think I'm just going to end the podcast here now. Again, guys, pick a goal, like pick something, make a change, be a service to others. Love thy neighbor is what the Bible says. And yeah, I don't know, guys. Thank you. I hope to hear you on the next podcast, or see it, or I hope you guys listen to the next podcast as well as this one. I love you guys. Yeah, I don't know where to end this. I really got to pee. Like, I'm going to explode. All right. Peace out, guys. Bye.